In this video, we are going to focus on perimeter and area of a parallelogram, rhombus, and kite. First of all, we're going to look at perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of a two-dimensional shape. To calculate, you must add up all the way around. So start at one point, a side, and head clockwise. We have two examples here. I'm going to focus on question 1 for you now. It says calculate the perimeter of the parallelogram. We have been given two measurements, 4 meters and 10 meters. Now I've got some missing measurements here, so I'm going to write them in. I know that this side of 4 meters is parallel and equal to this side. That makes it 4 meters also. And the same with the 10 meters. I know that this length here is the same and parallel to this side, so that's also 10 meters. So now I have my 4 measurements. I can add this up now. So we go P equals, and P stands for perimeter. And I'm going to start at this point and go clockwise all the way around. So 10 plus 4 plus 10 plus 4. P equals, add that all up, and that comes to 28. The measurement is meters. And that's it. So fill in the missing sides, P equals, make sure you get all the sides, add them up, and you get the perimeter for the parallelogram. Let's now take a look at this second question here. It says calculate the perimeter of the rhombus kite. I've drawn a kite here, but the same rules apply. You do exactly the same thing. So we have a measurement of 5.8 centimeters and another measurement of 6.2 centimeters, and I've got some missing sides. So I use the markings to help me out. I know that this 2-stripe length here is equal to this 2-stripe length here, so I fill in 5.8 centimeters. And exactly the same thing happens down here. The length of this with one stripe is exactly identical to this with one stripe, so I put 6.2 centimeters. Now I have all measurements, and I can now add up all the way clockwise. So we start P equals, and P means perimeter, and I'm going to pick a point and add up all the way around. So I'm going to start here, 5.8 plus 6.2 plus 6.2 plus 5.8, and I punch that all into my calculator and add it up, and it comes to 24, and the units are centimeters. We're now going to focus on area of a parallelogram. Area is the amount of space inside a two-dimensional flat shape. A parallelogram is a pushed-over rectangle with each pair of parallel lines equal in length. So just looking at this first question here, what that means is these lines are parallel to each other. They will never meet, and they are equal in length, as are these. These are equal in length and parallel to each other. So the rule for area of a parallelogram is base times height. So we have to figure out what is the base and what is the height. Now, one thing that gives away the height easily is the red dotted lines. The height basically is a straight line running from one set of parallel lines to another. In this case, we have this parallel line and this parallel line, which are a matching pair, and a dotted line in red going from each line. So this is going to be the height, and what's left over is the base. And the base is one of those parallel lines attached to the height. So let's calculate this one. We go area equals, and we must write the rule first, base times height. We work down the page underneath, and we now substitute in our second line. So the base is 10 multiplied by the height of 12, and you punch that into your calculator or use your basic facts, and you will figure out that is 120. It is meters, and because it is area, it is squared. In this second question here, it's the same principles. We have a different shape here, well, it's back to front compared to this one. However, it does have the red dotted line inside. Sometimes you will get these dotted lines on the outside. Okay, as long as it's running from the top to the bottom line, even if there's an extension here from this bottom parallel line, the dotted lines are an indication, along with that right angle, that it is the height. So looking at this one here, first of all, we have to write area equals base times height. We're looking for the height. The height is the red dotted line. It's running between a set of parallel lines, this one here and this one here. That's the height, and this is the base. The base is up the top here. It doesn't have to be down the bottom. If this measurement was down the bottom, it would be the base, but we use what we've got here. So again, area equals, now we substitute, 8 is the base, multiplied by 6 as the height, and we go 8 times 6, and that is 48. The measurement is meters, and because it's area, it is squared. We're now going to focus on area of rhombus and kite. So we know the area is the amount of space inside a two-dimensional flat shape. The rhombus and kite are diamond-shaped figures which, although different, share the same rule when calculating area. And that rule is area equals half times x times y. You may be wondering, what is x and what is y? X is always the shorter length inside the shape, and y is the longer one. So looking at the dotted lines in here, between A and C is the shorter one, that will be x, and the longer one is y, and that is BD. And to determine this, you can look at the length given. So 8.5 is the longest length, and 5 is the shorter length, so x comes before y, short before long. Now we've determined that, we can actually start calculating. Area equals, and write the rule first. Half times x times y. Now we can substitute in those values. So we go half, separate them with a multiplication symbol, and the short one of x is 5, multiplied by the longer one of y, which is 8.5. Calculate that by punching into your calculator. 1 ABC fraction button 2 times 5 times 8.5, and you will get 21.25 centimetres, and because it is area, it is squared. And just identify that ABC fraction button if you have forgotten. It looks like this on your calculator. Let's move over to the kite now. We're going to do exactly the same thing that we did for the rhombus over here. So we're going to look for x and y. X is the short distance, so x will be 4 centimetres, and y will be the long one of 5 centimetres. So now we're going to make our calculations. First of all, we write the rule. Area equals half x y. Our second line is our substitution. Half times the value of x, which is 4, times the value of y, which is 5. Get your calculator and go 1 ABC fraction button 2 times 4 times 5 equals, and you will get 10. It's centimetres for the measurements, and its area, which means it has the number 2, 4 squared.